Good, beautiful morning. So today I'm here to tell you about my apartment, give you a bit of an apartment tour. I'm an English teacher living in South Korea on the EPIK program. This is my third year here and this is my apartment. Let's do it. So let's get this out of the way. If you're living in South Korea, certainly if you're single, you're probably going to be living in quite a small apartment. If you know what apartments are like in Tokyo, New York City, London, well, a lot of the apartments in Korea are like that. In Seoul, this is definitely the case. You're definitely going to have really small apartments. But I don't live in Seoul. I live in Mokpo at the moment, which is in a province called Jeollanam-do in the far south of South Korea. It's a really rural province. And even though I live in a small city, I still have a really small apartment. So this is something I'd describe as a studio apartment. In Korea, this is what we call an officetel. So that's the words office and I believe hotel or motel kind of clicked together. So with that said, let's get going and let's take a look around. You can see here the pigeonholes that we have for the mail, and then we get into the main door with a code and up in the elevator. Coming down the corridor, you can see that I have water waiting for me. You can drink the water in South Korea, but when I arrived, everyone just kind of said, oh, you shouldn't drink the water. It tastes bad or it's not good for you. I can't remember the exact reason, but I've lived in South Korea for almost 3 years now, and I've always bought bottled water. So one of my favorite things about South Korea is the door access. I've had 2 apartments in South Korea now, and the door access on both of them has been through a keypad. You don't need to carry keys. In fact, since I don't have a car in South Korea, I don't have keys. I don't have keys anymore. It's incredible because it means you can never lose your keys. It also means if you need to let anyone in, you can just give them the code. And then when you arrive home, you change it. You can change the locks in like 30 seconds. It's pretty great. While we're here, Low Drag Lifestyle, this channel is about minimalist travel and lifestyle design. If that sounds good, then hit subscribe. I come out with brand new videos every single week. Click the like button and leave a comment introducing yourself. Okay, let's get on with it. So let's talk a little bit about the entrance. Every apartment in South Korea is going to have kind of an entrance area just like this. With mine, the bathroom is just off the side there, the living room, the main area just in front of me. This is where you take your shoes off. This is South Korea. We don't wear our shoes indoors. Even in my school, when I go to school, you walk in, the students, the teachers, we all take our shoes off at the door and swap them out for slippers. Here is no different. In every apartment in South Korea, you are going to find a space to take your shoes off. Personally, I've been living here, like I say, almost 3 years now, and it's kind of become a thing that I do. It's become part of my identity to be a person who takes their shoes off when they arrive home. Wasn't the case when I lived in the UK. Came to South Korea, and I thought, yeah, that seems like a good idea, let's do that. And bathrooms. So South Korean bathrooms are almost all wet rooms. This goes for public bathrooms, the bathrooms in my school, and absolutely the bathrooms in your apartment, in the houses here. That means that you don't have kind of a separate space, a divider or a shower curtain for the shower. The whole thing just kind of drains through a hole in the floor, and the floor is on kind of a slight dip. It means that actually cleaning the bathroom is so much easier than it was when I lived in the UK. I remember living in the UK where we don't really do wet rooms. If you want to clean the bathroom, it's a chore. You set aside time to do it. You don't look forward to it. It's not a good part of your day, of your week, whenever you clean the bathroom. Here, you just kind of point the shower at things and demand them to be clean, and it happens. One thing you will find in every South Korean bathroom, certainly in every South Korean home, is slippers. These are to put on your feet when you go into the bathroom. I never use these. When I moved into my first apartment, I walked in and there were a pair of slippers there. It was one of the only things in the apartment, just this pair of plastic slippers in the bathroom, and I threw them out. I thought, who's left their footwear in my bathroom? This is weird. So heads up, you will probably find slippers in every apartment that you walk into in South Korea. And pro tip, don't throw them away, because if you meet someone from South Korea who you bring back to your apartment, if you don't have slippers in the bathroom, they will think it's weird. So let's talk about the living room area, or just the main room area, should I say. Yeah, this is a studio apartment. This is the main one room. I've just come out of the kitchen over here, and now I'm in the main room. My desk is here, my bed is here. I've got a bedside table and a small, very old, possibly dying 32-inch LG television behind you, and a wardrobe, a closet, depending on which side of the Atlantic you were born on. Another thing that I have in my apartment in South Korea is a fan. Yes, I have aircon, but I also have a fan. Why? Because the aircon's expensive to run, and honestly, when the summer rolls around, you will be running the aircon and the fan probably every moment that you are here. Just like in the winter, you'll be running the heating every moment that you are here. South Korea's seasons are intense. The winter gets really cold and the summer gets really hot. I'm from the UK, I'm not designed for this kind of heat, so I've certainly been running both of these things for most of the summer. Yeah, get prepared for intense summers and intense winters if you are moving to South Korea. One of the coolest things about Korean apartments is that the standard for heating is underfloor heating. I'm from the UK, we have radiators, and this is so much better. When you turn it on in the winter, the first thing that heats up is the floor, which means the first thing that heats up is your feet, which is a wonderful thing to experience when you come in the winter. So yeah, this is a slightly older system, but underfloor heating is in pretty much every apartment that I've seen in South Korea, and it is wonderful. Another thing, along with the wet room idea in the bathroom, that I will be looking for in every apartment that I live in the future. So let's talk about the size of my apartment. Right now I live in a city of about 250,000 people. I've lived here for 7 months now, 6 or 7 months. Before this, I lived on an island called Jindo in South Korea, which was a big island, but it was a very small town. So my apartment was a lot bigger. I think I was spoiled with my first apartment. I was expecting something similar when I arrived in this city, but I lived in that big apartment for 2 years. If you are coming to South Korea as a teacher, as an EPIK teacher, then yeah, you'll probably get a big apartment if you're in a rural area. If you're in a bigger city, Seoul, Busan, Daegu, somewhere like that, you're probably going to be looking at a smaller apartment. I do have a video coming up on my experiences as an EPIK teacher, an English teacher in public schools in South Korea for almost 3 years now. So if that's something that interests you, then stick around. I'll have that coming in the next couple of weeks. While we're here, let's talk about the kitchen. Kitchens in apartments in South Korea are usually very small. I've seen a fair few of them now, friends' apartments, and this is one of the bigger ones. So you can see here I have a 2-burner stove, a 2-burner hob, and that's it. There is no oven in this kitchen. In fact, you will find that almost all small apartments in South Korea don't include an oven. I should say that this is not the smallest apartment I've seen in South Korea. In fact, it's far from it. When I was living in Jindo in my first year, I knew 2 guys really well who had far smaller apartments than me. One poor guy found that he moved to Korea and he'd been assigned an apartment directly above, like a fish restaurant. It was tiny, the place stank. I felt so bad for him. And it was just kind of luck of the draw that he went to a school that decided that that was his apartment. I went to a school that decided that I got a really nice apartment in a new building. I felt bad, not bad enough to swap apartments, but I still felt bad. So let's talk about rent for a moment. This apartment is 400,000 Korean won per month, which works out to this in US dollars, pounds, and whatever else I've translated it into. If you want to hear more about kind of monthly expenses and how much it overall costs to live in South Korea, then I have a full video on Is South Korea Expensive coming up, and once that's finished, I will link that up here.